Yo guys, what's going on? Robert Warshack here. We're going to be covering the best decks that we've seen so far since the new balance update. Warrior got absolutely thrashed. I made a video going over all the nerfs and the impacts and what changes they made. We've seen the meta shake up quite a bit. Warrior is basically gone, and some other decks now have a chance to rise to the top. So something we've already seen rise to the top, they got nerfed, but still seeing play. They just modified the deck a little bit. That's going to be the Fel DH here. It's a very quick, very fast deck. It can do a lot of damage without creatures on the board. It does a lot of damage with creatures on the board, and it has some really good late game with the Zelang, the Kirchuis, and the Jace. We've seen this deck before. Some recent modifications to it, though, is like running Blade Master and School Teacher and Need for Greed over the Spectral Sites. The deck's going to play relatively the same. It's really good, and people are still hitting a top 100 legend with it. A new deck that was gaining popularity before the patch and is now exploded in popularity, even though the null did get nerfed down from 4 attack to 3 attack. It's going to be the Jackpot Rogue. So Jackpot's a 2-mana, add 2 random spells from other classes that cost 5 or more to your hand. This is really, really good with, of course, the Swift Scale Trickster. So you're going to be able to play giant spells early on. We're into the Archmage, the Buffing Priest Elic card. I mean, there's a lot of very powerful, large spells in the game, and you get them out very early. You also have the Contraband Stash, which then you follow up, and you're able to replay these quite quickly. It also runs the Peasant. This was an inclusion when Warrior was really popular because Warrior couldn't do anything against a peasant on turn 1. It took them till at least turn 3 or 4 to deal with it with like a weapon or something. Now that Warrior isn't really played a lot, maybe you can get rid of peasant and add in like Phelan if you want some colossal value or stuff like that. But peasant on 1 is still really good because it's a neutral. It doesn't divulge that you're a rogue yet, and it draws you cards, which then reduces the cost of the null. When you play this deck, it's going to be kind of hit or miss. It's really dependent on Jackpot a lot of the times, but most of the time spells that you get from here are pretty good, and it just does have a lot of value elsewhere with Tooth and the Reconnaissance and things like that. So it has a lot of gas later in the game, and it can outvalue most other control decks, especially if you start generating Colossuses, which happens quite often with all of the Discover mechanics in this deck. Yo, I appreciate you for watching. If you do like the content, you do like the channel, remember subscribing, liking, and commenting on the videos really helps the channel out, shows it to more people, and it allows me to keep doing what I do, which is make the content I hope you like to enjoy. And if not, that's okay too. I'll see you in the next. Another rogue deck that is less discover and more just very kill your opponent as fast as possible. That's going to be the Bomb Rogue deck. It got a new card from this expansion, the Shadow Shambler. It recently got a new card, the Shadow Shambler, which makes it so when you play your Naval Mind, it dies instantly. And this was one of the things because you before had to kill your own Naval Minds. Now they die by themselves. And with the Snowfall Graveyard and the Mines, you're able to just deal a large quantity of damage. We're talking each time a bomb dies or a Death Rattle procs, you're going to get 8 damage each. And between like the Counterfeit Blade and Edwin and the Knolls and just the damage that the deck has with Wicked Stabs and Tooth, it's just a lot. There's not a ton of healing in Hearthstone right now, and with Warrior getting nerfed, there's not many people playing it, and Armor was a way to out-armor this deck. But right now, you can't. There's no deck that can out-armor and out-heal this besides Warrior, but no one's playing Warrior, so Bomb Rogue is absolutely crushing it, and the way you'd beat this deck is you would play a faster deck. This deck has basically very little defense in the early game. Like, they have to depend on those Knolls for the field clears, and if they don't find the Knolls, this deck doesn't really do anything. And if they have to use like Tooth and Wicked Stab to clear up minions, then they're not drawing cards and getting closer to their like bomb combo, right? So you like Face Hunter and like DH, just decks that are generally just fast and put a lot of pressure on early, do well against this. But any sort of slower deck, if you're not playing an aggro deck and you play against a Bomb Rogue, you're probably gonna lose. So very quick deck. Not a lot of discovery in this deck either. It's to the point and it kills people fast. A deck that has a ton of discover, a ton of randomness, and has popped up a lot. A lot of high-end players are playing this. McBanterface, Habu Gabu, Superior David, all these guys are playing this deck, top couple hundred legend, and it's performing very well. There's a lot of different versions of this, but this is basically what I've seen and what I've played has been working well with me. So let's go over it quite quickly. We have Belinda. When you're running big spells, getting her out is very nice. So turn 4 or turn 5, when you get her out, is sick with coin. You have the Mailbox Dancer, which adds a coin to your hand, but when it dies, it gives your opponent a coin, which is normally bad. But we run the Barbaric Sorceress. So when you give your opponent the coin, you play this guy, and then you're able to swap like an amulet or a rune of the Archmage with the coin in your opponent's hand. So you get a 0 mana, 9 or 10 mana spell, and then they get like a 9 or 10 mana coin. So Sorceress, insane. Mailbox Man's really good. It just has a little bit of early game survivability here, which is quite clean as well. Deepwater Evoker is always going to give you 9 or 10 armor, which is a decent amount to help you survive. It has Dawn Grasp, which will replay the Dragonfire Amulet, which is sick. It has the Grey Sage Parrot, which just keeps casting large spells. You can use Brand with the Varden, the Deepwater, the Sorceress, the Belinda, the Parrot, the Dawn Grasp. There's a lot of synergies in the deck. I know it does look like a bunch of random cards, and how could this win? This deck's super, super fun. Very random, though. It depends a lot on Rune of the Archmage, but this deck has seen a lot of popularity recently and has proven to be doing very, very well. We have a Naga Priest. Now, again, the Warriors have chilled out a bit. There's a lot less AoE floating around. The Warrior was very, very oppressive in this meta. Decks that were like revolved around the board state, like Naga Priest, is very just plays minions on the board, buffs them up, and hits you in the face, right? Very board-centric deck. So when you have anti-board-centric decks like Warrior, which just, if your opponent's playing stuff, Warrior gets happy, Naga Priest is doing fantastic. It puts a lot of stats on the board early. I don't even want to say it's that weak to silence, because they just start rebuffing their stuff back up again too. So Naga Priest, in my opinion, looking really, really good right now. A lot of flexibility, fairly hard deck to play for a normally more aggressive style deck that like the top end's a 4 mana card. There wouldn't be a lot of flexibility in game plans. It's very linear, but this deck does have quite a bit of flexibility with the plays that you can make. It's one of the, in my opinion, better of the faster paced decks that we've seen in comparison to like Face Hunter or like Shadow Priest that we've seen in the past. Like this is just a very, I think, pretty fun, well-rounded, very interesting deck too. Like tops out at 4 mana, and it also has like a ton of value and a ton of draw and a lot of like minion burst in one turn. Like we've been able, if like 2 minions live and we have the right combo, we can do upwards of like 40 damage in one turn, which is really, really nice. So Naga Priest looking really, really good. Then we have Hunter. So this is Hattrik's top 100 legend Hunter. There's again a lot of different big beast Hunter decks. There's one that runs Ozumat. There's ones that run more beasts. There's ones that don't run the Naga package in the early game. I'm not a Hunter main, but Hattrik is. This guy knows how to build Hunter. This was his most recent list that he posted. I played it. I went like 8-1 with it. It was pretty disgusting. We've already made our videos on it. So if you want to see some gameplay, we do have that already. This is what he had brewing. It has some nice thick early game Nagas. This allows you to not lose immediately if you don't hit like Harpoon Gun into a big beast. So you have that early game Naga's Pride Nagas. From there you have a lot of value like School Teacher and Kodo. And then from there, of course, you've got your late game beasts with your revive pets. This is the build that I've seen, but again, there's a lot of builds out there. Beast Hunter in general is just really good right now, almost no matter how you build it. And then the last deck, you probably haven't seen this deck, but this deck, I recently went 10-2 with this. The video should be coming out for this deck shortly. This is going to be my Lockout Control Shaman, because we're seeing all these like Boar Priests and like Death Rattle Hunters and stuff. This Control Lockout Shaman double hex, absolutely insane versus those decks. It has all of the anti-aggro tools to deal with Demon Hunter and Face Hunter and any of the more aggressive style rogue decks, and it also has the late game value with like Brokon and the Coil Fangs to be able to shut out your opponent of playing their stuff, and then you go ahead and win. So this deck, while it may look kind of funky, it was doing like, it was slaughtering people on ladder, and will be, again, this deck will be posted for us shortly after this video comes out. So this is I think this one's a just sweet one. No one's playing it yet, but this is good stuff. And then the rest are actually decks that people are playing and are doing really well. So as always, appreciate you guys watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Of course, I'm Robert Warshack, and happy whatever the hell day.